Life After the Rams is proudly sponsored by Seven Restaurant and Cafe Bar, located on Pride Park in Derby. Seven is the leading destination for all-day dining, artisan coffee and handcrafted cocktails, where the community comes together to relax, connect and celebrate.
Life After the Rams with Colin Gibson.
Hello and welcome back to Life After the Rams. This is episode 8, part 2 of our conversation with Roy McFarland. In part 1, we explored his relationship with Wembley, but today the story turns personal. You'll hear how Roy's wife first met Brian Clough by accident and how Roy felt when his Derby journey finally came to an end. So let's rewind 10 years from 1994 to 1984. Derby's centenary season sees them get relegated to the third division. You'd gone in for the last few games and Derby won some games, but the die had been cast and relegation followed. On the first Saturday of May, the bank holiday weekend, Derby lost to Newcastle United up in the northeast.
Yes.
Arthur Cox was manager of Newcastle and got them promoted to the first division, the top division. By the end of that month, Arthur Cox was manager of third division Derby County and he became your manager. You went in as assistant manager. And I always remember Arthur saying, I've got to stop the rot, turn the ship round, point it in the right direction and go back to somewhere where the club used to be. He certainly did.
He certainly did. Great manager. I enjoyed every minute of the time I had with Arthur.
Were you miffed at all that they hadn't given you the job?
No, not at all. You're bringing in a manager who's been very successful at Newcastle. He came in and transformed the club. And I'm pleased to say that I had, a small part to do with that, with the job I had. And he was a good manager.
How did the partnership work between the two of you?
He was the gaffer. And I was the one who might just give the players a hug because of what he said to them, because he was forthright, straight, honest, and did the job. And at times, he would lose it a little bit, and I'd just go around the player, have a chat with him and say, come on, you're bigger than this. You can see this through. And we did. I enjoyed that role of being a peacemaker, if that's what the title be. But Arthur knew what he wanted. He knew what he needed to do, and he did it. And he did it, I think, with the help of Mr. Maxwell. Arthur, he didn't like the players not fighting, not doing their job, because we did have times like that with one or two of the players. But he would resolve it and he would sort it out. You didn't mess about with Arthur Cox.
I remember. I mean, when he arrived and you went back that summer in 1984, you hadn't got enough players to actually field an 11.
No, that's right, yeah. But you see, it was soon resolved. And the one thing about bringing the players in, they were quality players, which was massive. If you're at a football club and you're the manager or the coach or whatever, your success will depend on whether you've got a good squad and whether those players can play with each other, when they can they support each other. Yeah, if they can, then you're on the way to getting promotion and on the way to having a double promotion, which is what we had. And I don't take any credit from that, truthfully. Arthur Cox was magnificent, was brilliant, with the response he got from the players he got in, fabulous, which I had a part in as well, I know, but it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. And he knew that we were going to have success with the way he'd handled things, the players he'd brought in. It was a good time to be a player at Derby County.
The first season, 84-85, was just get through, get results. But actually, when you got to about halfway through the season, Kevin Wilson was sold, and that gave some money then to bring in the likes of Geraint Williams, Trevor Christie, Gary Micklewhite, which put foundations down for the following season. A young painter and decorator turned up and started scoring goals as well in that next season. And it just blended, it just came together. It wasn't a stroll, and eventually it came down to a fairly famous Friday night against Rotherham at the baseball ground. But that really set the tone then for what was to follow the next season.
Yeah.
Because you just got out the third division, but that was what was needed. You had to get out the third division. And it was done on a memorable night. And then that summer in 86, again, changes were made. Bobby Davison obviously was already there, so you got a goal scorer. And just with the addition of other players as well, the following season in 86-87, you and Portsmouth stormed it. Again,
you look at the group and you remember the players and you remember the performances that they gave you. And I felt the excitement. And like you say, we scraped out of the third division, but crikey, we took the league by storm the following season, and it was success after success. The two promotions, which took us into some great positions. I think the quality of the players then that we brought in was tremendous. Really strong characters, strong people. I think about Ted McMinn, Righty. Good Lord, these were creative players, and they got us success. Yes, the others did it as well. The one thing is, Carl, for me, you can judge your team by how strong the lot of them are. Even the ones who are sitting on the bench, they've got to be strong, they've got to be ready to go on. And Arthur made that happen. He made it happen. And the players would argue about certain things. Again, for me, I enjoyed that role of putting an arm around them and saying, come on, you're better than this. And, forget about what Arthur said. He's a bully. He wasn't really. But he was a very, very good manager. And the players knew that. To be fair, there was no players hiding anywhere in this group. This group was solid. And our football was great. And we had success based on Arthur talking to them. Arthur, without doubt, getting their minds right. And there were one or two funny instances. I can remember one day, I think it was Righty and Ted were called into the office. And
that's a surprise.
And they came into my office first, you see, to get through to Arthur. I said, wait there. I said, the gaffer's on the phone. And I think he may well have been talking to Mr. Maxwell about something, but that's by and by. So Ted and Righty just said, what's going on? What's happening? I says, listen, just think about what you've done, because you've done it. I said, and then apologise and say, I was wrong, gaffer. That's all you've got to do. So they go in, and to be fair to them, they're like bloody angels, both of them. Sorry, gaffer. But it worked. It worked out well. It worked out well. Arthur never suffered fools. He never suffered them. No, he was strong, and it was good. It was. I mean, I was majority of the time I was in my office, but my ear was to the door just to hear them and see what the players are saying. But it was good and it was enjoyable. That was the main thing.
Shilton, Wright and Saunders in that team. Goddard up front with Dean Saunders. As I say, Gary Micklewhite, Geraint Williams, big Rob Hindmarch in defence. And in 88-89, you finished 5th in the First Division, which, had English clubs not been banned from Europe at that time, Derby would have returned to play European football. And that 5th place finish is the highest finish for any Derby team since the great days of the 1970s. And a bit later, they got close with 8th and 9th finishes. But that team that won so many away games, won at Arsenal, Dean Saunders, great flick over goal to deny Arsenal the title on that particular day, winning at Manchester United. As we speak, the last time Derby won at Aston Villa, Dean Saunders and Paul Goddard scored the goals for Derby. That's how long ago it is. But that's a measure of how good that team was.
Getting 5th, it's an achievement, and a great achievement. Sadly, we didn't get in Europe, but that's the way life is, But we still knew we'd had a good season. We still knew that we'd performed well, and they were happy days. Happy days.
You took over from Arthur Cox. We've mentioned the playoff final, and a year after the playoff final, as we said, players were being sold, money having to be brought in. And at the end of that season, the directors decide not to renew your contract. So that effectively looked as if your time with Derby, which had been as a player and as a manager, was over. Did that leave a bitter taste in your mouth, the way that it came to an end? Or is that almost, that's how football is?
When they say your time's up, you've got to go. And that's the way it was. And like I say before, I enjoyed every minute of the time I was here at Derby County. I couldn't waste my time feeling bitter about situations that really, it's part of your life. For me, that's the way I approach it. And it's the way I approached all the jobs that I had in football. But leaving Derby County, was I bitter about? No, not at all. Not in a month of Sundays.
You're a Scouser, you can still hear it in your voice, yet the majority of your life has been here in the East Midlands.
I started off with Brian and Peter, and I used to go home every weekend to see my mum and dad and my sisters and that type of thing, and my mates. We'd go out on Saturday night and have a few beers in the pub, and then we'd find a nightclub somewhere. But that soon stopped. I met a girl, and fun enough, one of my dates with Linda, I went into Mr. Mo's, and Mr. Longston and Cloughy are sitting down having the food, and I was embarrassed anyway. I introduced Linda to Mr. Longston and Brian, and typical of Brian, he says, make sure you get to bed early. And I don't mean that. I mean, you look after yourself, because I'm going to need you on Saturday. And that's, it was typical of Brian. I love Derby. I must admit, I'm not too fond of Nottingham Forest. That's always been a little bit in in our minds as players of Derby County. But I'm pleased for them at the moment because they're having a lot of success. Maybe we shouldn't clap too much, but well done.
Hopefully it won't last.
I'm in the Midlands. I'm a Midlander now. I'm not a Scouser, although I've still got the accent. I know that. And I can't get rid of it, Cole.
Don't try.
I still go back. My sister still, well, one of my sisters still lives there. My other one's in Australia, so I don't go and visit her very often. I love going back home. I've still got friends there and mates there, but I don't go too often. I live in Derby. I'm part of the East Midlands, and I love it.
And in your time at Derby, we see sometimes the fragility of football clubs and how close they are to going out of existence. It happened in the mid-1980s. Stuart Webb had to go to the High Court with a cheque for £127,000 to pay off the Inland Revenue, VAT and all that, to stop Derby from going under. And then in 2021, for, well, tens of millions of pounds, the club seriously nearly went out of existence. But thanks to a man called Clowes, it still exists. And it's hard to imagine, Roy, me as a fan and you as somebody who's played for the club and managed the club, that there wouldn't have been a Derby County.
Frightening. Thank heavens for David Clowes. He used to go to the games. He'd go to home and away games. So his heart and soul's in the right place, and I think we'll all be forever grateful for him for keeping our football club alive. I wish him success. I hope he gets success. Yes, there's been a blip with, one manager. He's been in and then he's gone, and now we've got another one in now. It's hopefully progress that we need, and we want a bit more success, but we'll always want that. We won't always get it, but we'll always want it. I go to certainly the majority of the home games. I go to some of the away games. I take that silly bugger Roger Davis with me sometimes.
It's taken a long time, actually, if you to give him some stick.
He's a good mate, Roger. We've had some good times together, and we've rode our luck a little bit, but it's been fun. And if anything, the fun has kept us swinging along and enjoying things, without doubt, enjoying the football, because, we've got to progress. We want to progress. And the one thing is about the owner, he wants success. And I wish him all the best in terms of having success, because he deserves it.
Roy, it's been fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin.
Coming up in the next episode, Roy's partner at the back, Colin Todd. That's out on January the 8th. If you've missed any of our conversations so far with Phil G, Eric Steele, Roger Davis, Sean Barker, Craig Bryson or Craig Short, they're available wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks to 7 Restaurant and Cafe Bar in Derby for supporting us. Located on Derby's Pride Park, 7 is the leading destination for all-day dining, artisan coffee and handcrafted cocktails. With a focus on quality, seasonal ingredients and a welcoming atmosphere, 7 is where the community comes together to relax, connect and celebrate.
Life After the Rams is a Backpass production.